being the example of what we believe doing the right thing is, or being the best that we can be, really impacts the people around us without us even saying anything, just inviting them into our world without pushing or shoving. And that's what I'm doing. And that's how meditation has helped me through all of that.
This is a solutions event. This is what's happening.
After 5 successful events in North America, the Freedom Cell Network is partnering with Free Humanity to bring the People's Reset to Bath, UK.
The technocrats at the United Nations and the World Economic Forum are now hosting the Summit of the Future in New York City in September 2024.
Join us in September for the People's Reset UK, our summit for our future.
Over 3 days, we will gather in community, celebrating our victories and successes, whilst continuing to highlight solutions under 5 holistic themes.
Liberate your mind, body, and spirit.
Permaculture and food independence.
Building parallel networks.
Empowering technology.
And building free and conscious communities. 24 top-notch speakers, including Neil Oliver, Charles Dowding, Dan Astin-Gregory, Nigel Howlett, John and Rebecca Bush, and many more.
We'll also be hosting the People's Reset concert featuring international artist Dub FX, as well as Presence, 33, and more talented performers to come. Join us for the People's Reset UK. Visit thegreaterreset.org to learn more and to get your ticket today. Mindfulness in the madness. We're dealing with a 24/7 negative news cycle. We've got major challenges in the world, agendas unfolding, difficulties arising. There is this situation that many are calling the perma crisis or the poly crisis to describe many of the different issues that we're facing right now. So how can meditation and mindfulness and other practices help us to become present and still during these times so that we don't ourselves take on the trauma of the outside world? These are some of the things we're going to explore today with Miriam Gomez, who I'm delighted to be here with today, who is, we've been working very closely with as part of the planning for the People's Reset UK, and you'll have the opportunity to meet Miriam in the UK if you come and join us at the event this September, the 27th to the 29th in Bath. Now, a little bit about Miriam, and by the way, you'll see a trailer in a moment about the People's Reset, so you'll get a little taste of what's coming up. But Miriam is an artist and entrepreneur, a permaculturist and activist. She started practicing meditation in 2013, now over 10 years since she began, and has led over 150 group guided meditations and has done some really exciting things like MedMob, which is a flash mob style meditation experience, which I'm deeply curious to find out more about because I've never had a chance to experience anything like that. She's taken the meditation and mindfulness on tour as part of the activation tool connected to the Greater Reset, now the People's Reset, and she's worked very closely with the Freedom Cell Network to bring this type of activity to people's daily lives. So really excited to be exploring these things. If we have the time today as well, we'll also talk about some of the community-based initiatives that Derek and Miriam are working on together. But Miriam, great to have you here on the show and look forward to exploring a lot of these things together.
Thank you so much, Dan, for this opportunity. I'm really happy to be here.
So we could easily talk about the madness of the world, but first I want to start with your own journey into this world of spiritual activism, if you will, or conscious activism and meditation itself. Where did your journey begin?
Well, that's a really good question because it was through my own personal madness that led me to meditation in the first place. I wouldn't consider myself an activist back in the day, but I was going through my own internal tribulations, my challenges, depression. I dealt with a lot of depression as a young girl, and the pressures of life and all the familial challenges brought a lot of anxiety to me. And so I was dealing a lot with that. And in the middle, I grew up in a family that going to the doctor wasn't a normal thing, which I'm actually kind of thankful for. And I had a grandmother that was very into herbs, and everywhere she walked around with her machete. So we'd be on a walk and she'd be chopping down some herbs. And I'm like, what's that for? And so it was all very natural. We didn't go to the doctor for every little thing. So whenever I was going through a really bad depression. I realized it was really bad because I'm stuck in my room 24/7, watching videos, chomping down garbage food. And I looked up, I just decided to look up, hey, how do I help myself out of depression? And what is this? Why is this happening? All of this, right? And thankfully, I had the internet at my hands, and I found out about meditation. So I started meditating. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I just start with breathing, deeply breathing, and becoming more and more, still. And for me, the stillness was not about trying to calm the thoughts in my mind or stop them, because I don't think that that's actually our goal here with meditation. It was mainly to find myself in moments of peace, trying to journey through the whole madness and chaos in my internal world, in my mind, in my heart space. And so meditation, I'm very grateful because it's actually the very root, it was at the very beginning of what I now call activism. And so with meditation, finding, I'm having more moments of peace and clarity and understanding of where all this depression's coming from, where all of this anxiety is coming from. Okay, that's great. What else? What else can help me? What else can I be doing to help myself, help my mind, my body, my spirit as I'm learning? I'm multidimensional. There's so many parts of me, and I get to know myself and explore myself and expand my awareness. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, let's do that. So I started learning about exercise. So I started exercising more along with my meditation. So my meditations turned from being at home alone, meditating in my sitting legs crossed position or laying down meditations, turned into running meditation, which then turned into working out, lifting meditation, which then turned into being, how can I take this into my relationships? How can I be mindful and much more mindful of myself and others when I'm dealing with the most challenging relationships in my life, which are actually my family, and then the community around me and everything. And the activism part, it is honestly more like, the way I see it is God, spirit, creator, the divine, pushing me and shoving me into the world and saying, you need to go out to the world and tell people about this. You need to go out into the world. And if nobody's doing this, you do it. You step up, you show up for your community. You show up in the ways that you feel like you really need to help the world around you. Right. And back in, I was maybe 18, 19 years old, Dan, when I was going through all of this. And there was a big lawsuit happening in my neighborhood, in my local neighborhood. And I'm bilingual. More than half of the community there only speaks Spanish, and the other half only speaks English. And I'm the one in the middle of it all, Dan. And I'm the one communicating and bridging the gaps between both parts of the community. And it was very beautiful. At the time, I didn't know anything about the legal system. At the time, I didn't know anything about politics, but it was the local political government trying to pull one on the community. And I won't go into details about it, but I didn't want to, Dan. I did not want to play that role. I didn't want to speak for the people. I didn't want to be the one communicating what's going on and the legal aspects of it all, how that's going to affect us, and what we can do about it and fight back, and the legal process of fighting back, what it's going to take, the financial goal, and how to organize all of us and how to bring those finances together, the money together, and what the trips are going to be, the paperwork we got to do. All the things. It was all new to me. And here I am in the middle of it, not wanting to do it, but having been shoved into it, I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. All right, step up, do it. So meditation helped me step up to the plate. And I see it as one of those things that continues to help me ground myself, recognize the challenges, recognize what is required of me, recognize what within me is a boundary, is what could be holding me back or not helping me show up fully in the ways that I need to. And through meditation, again, I'm able to journal, to process, to understand deeply what that is for me, and know and gain the tools to walk myself through it, and connect with my truth, and I believe that what meditation has taught me is that my truth is comes from the higher power, it's the highest truth, and that's what it keeps connecting me back to, and we can go deeper into what that is. But unlearning the false ideas of who we are that we picked up when we were children, when we were growing up, and learning that that's all lies, and picking up, connecting with our hearts and our minds and the intelligence and the beauty of nature, which is what we are, and recognizing that we are very powerful and very capable and very beautiful on our own as individuals, and that whatever challenges that we face, that we're facing them for a reason, and that they are going to help us become even more what we are meant to be in this world,
I want to backtrack a little bit here because this is fascinating. So, first of all, mindfulness and meditation as a I wish I'd encountered mindfulness and meditation as a teenager. I think irrespective of our, what happens within our individual relationships or with the state of the world that we're living in during our teenage years are just hard, to navigate. We're kind of making sense of ourselves and the world. And there's no real rule book or guidebook on how to do life as a teen. So I think most people, irrespective of, what the specific circumstances led to where you were at the time, I think most people would have had an experience during their early life where they were dealing with things within themselves, but perhaps didn't have a tool. But I'm curious, firstly, I know how committed that you and Derek are to decentralized technology, but when you're 18, 19, I don't even know what was available. But if we were searching here in the UK for how to deal with depression, the first thing we would see is pills and medication. So it seems like you were quite lucky to strike upon meditation. But there you were discovering meditation as a concept on the web. So then, boom, this whole later discovering the self and this deeper connection to your own sense of truth. That's a big journey. Can you describe, I presume it didn't instantly happen like that. How did your practice have to develop in order to get through those different stages?
Well, Dan, you're right. It didn't happen just from one day to the next, not even from 1 year to the next, honestly. There was a lot of very beautiful experiences that I had whenever I first started meditating. Finding that inner stillness, finding the void, in meditation and different philosophies, they talk about the void. Finding myself becoming a little bit more intuitive, finding myself speaking words of wisdom when I'm with people, finding myself recognizing that I'm really smart and intelligent, and I love learning, and I love diving deep into different topics and all that stuff. Finding myself having different spiritual experiences that were just whoa, what was that, But in between all of that, Dan, I became so aware of myself and so aware of my thoughts, my behaviors, how my belief systems that are at the root of my thoughts and my behaviors and my cycles and everything, and the things that got me to the point of depression and anxiety and all of that, right? But so whenever I became really hyper aware of myself, I also, those things are at play. Those belief systems are at play. And one of my biggest, what would you say, programming, or one of the things that I picked up as a child growing up was judgments. I love my family. I adore them. I don't hold anything against them. As I remember, my sister and I, we were maybe like 15 years old. I have a twin sister. So Dan, I feel so incredibly grateful that I have the most precious gift of having a twin sister, of being able to share this whole experience with. And in fact, it's like, maybe I'm getting too off track, but I feel like the cell, right, that was in my mom's belly decided, I'm so fucking cool and awesome, and I want to explore and have the greatest adventure that life could possibly give. So I'm going to split into two, and there's going to be two of me. And we're going to have two different personalities. We're going to be identical in so many different ways. But we're going to go on into this world so connected, in the most connected way that any human being could possibly be to any other human being, and have similar interests, similar personalities, but there's slight differences there in desires and goals and everything. And we're going to have our own separate experience. So when we come back, we're going to share that experience with each other and gain so much insight from each other's experiences that just kind of helps bridge the gap between what we're learning as an individual. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, Dan, but that's kind of what's happened, right? So, going back,
I'm close with two twin brothers, and yeah, I get to visibly see that type of experience through them.
That's beautiful.
I'm curious to hear that story, but I wonder, it leads me to something else that I want to come back to, actually, about how meditation can help us form deeper connections with one another. But before we go there, I want to kind of unravel. Was it uncomfortable when you first started to actually have that deeper self-awareness through meditation? Did that cause discomfort? Did you have to confront things that were difficult? What was the experience like for you?
Very much so. So I remember being 15 years old with my sister, and we recognizing, wow, we grew up in a family that was very judgmental, especially the women in our family. So we made a vow that we wouldn't be like that. We wouldn't be very judgmental and critical and to each other and to ourselves. But whenever I was meditating, I found myself being very judgmental of myself and others, and very frustrated, very angry. I grew up with an angry brother who would always get his anger out on me, judging me, bullying me in all sorts of manners, and even physically, hitting me, and beating me up and everything. And so whenever I started meditating and realizing I'm angry inside, I'm sad inside, I'm very judgmental, I was like, oh no, don't look at that, don't go there. So I actually stopped meditating for many years because, and I think this is a really important part about the spiritual journey, at least for myself, is that I didn't have the tools that I needed in that moment to be able to face myself, to deal with myself, to accept and love myself. I didn't have the self-worth to accept and love myself through recognizing who I am, who I've been thus far, and where it comes from and all of that. So yeah, it was very tough. It was very tough becoming self-aware. But also too, here I am recognizing that a lot of the food that we're eating, a lot of the medications, they're all poison. A lot of the stuff outside, a lot of the stuff that we're putting on our skins that we're around and are poisonous to our bodies, our spirit, our mind, our health, our well-being. I'm recognizing that the different, that we're just not living healthy, that we're not living the best that we could. So I'm waking up, or however you want to call it, I'm becoming more aware of all these things. And so then I love my family so much. And I'm like, don't eat that. Don't do that. Don't, you want to juice more than you want to drink coffee. You want to, mom, like, okay, maybe you don't want to do that. Like, please don't smoke anymore. We're not going to kill you. So I'm becoming more aware of all these different things. I'm like, everybody start eating organic, but I'm doing it in a very frustrated way. I'm doing it in a very angry way because I found out about the government and how the FDA, supposedly, I thought all along, I don't know about you, Dan, but I thought all along that these different government entities were there to support and help the people and help regulate and make sure that they're safe and everything's secure and everything's safe for us and stuff. And I found out that that wasn't true. So in my head, I thought, well, if the FDA, this government entity, isn't there doing their job properly for whatever reason, we can speculate. But if they're not doing their job properly, well, what other government? How can I trust that any other government agency is doing their job properly? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, from someone in the UK, you have to look at FDA and go, why are food and drugs even in the same sentence, let alone a department or an entity? You know, food and drugs, they shouldn't be said in the same breath. You know, they're two different things. But it goes. Exactly. I mean, I don't want to sidetrack into the problems of big agriculture. You know, we might later on, but we'll see big ag and big pharma are all, you know, hyper connected. So then, you know, there's your clue in terms of why it's called the FDA. But you're absolutely right. You know, for many of us, we're having that awakening moment and realizing that those institutions or entities that we thought were acting in our interests may or may not be, or in many cases, not acting in our interests. We have to take that sovereignty and that power back. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So bring it back to your story then. So how did this awareness, how did you overlay this awareness with your own kind of spiritual practices that were emerging?
Yeah, so it was very difficult at first because I wanted the whole world, I wanted to shout it out from the rooftops, you know, the government is not on our side. Don't trust them. And also, too, we are perpetuating cycles that do not support our well-being and our growth and do not support the thriving of the children in so many different ways. So, hey, can we please become aware of this? And can we please all change so that we ourselves can become closer to ourselves and our peace and our strengths and grow stronger together as a family, as a union, as a community, and also teach the children differently that, you know, that they don't need to be a certain way to be loved, that they are all these different things, you know? So I didn't come in the best way possible because also at the root of it, I was very angry and very dealing with my own personal issues and emotions and challenges. So the way that after so many times of my family saying like, yeah, Miriam, stop it, like whatever, deal with it, you know, the world's going to go to shit anyways, or the different responses that I got from them. I started just deciding to do what I can with myself, and whatever I can change with myself or whatever I can do within myself, then whatever I have the power to change, I will change. And that's me, you know? So that's what I focused on, Dan. Instead of putting all my energy outward, I decided to bring all my energy inward. And so I continued to meditate. I did, but I also started to look for different tools that could help me with all the different other challenges that arose from me becoming aware, which were how to communicate effectively, how to build strong relationships, how to understand deeper how to process the different traumas and challenges that are in my behaviors and everything, and the root cause of everything that I am. And so I started journaling a lot. I started listening to all kinds of different podcasts. I started doing yoga classes as well, and all the different nuggets of wisdom that were all around me. I would just take them in and absorb them and put them into practice as much as possible. And I would find those close relationships that I could actually be my full self with, and that could handle my internal exploration and my understanding of the world and my frustrations and my joys too, because a lot of the times I felt like those who can't handle my frustrations can't handle my joys either, you know, can't even understand the depths of my joy. Woo! And so yeah, gaining all these different tools to be able to do it. And Dan, I honestly feel now after going through all of that, that's probably the biggest tool that we have is how can we take all of our energy, all of our power back and internalize it and say, what can I change within myself? What can I myself do to make an impact, a positive impact on myself, my body, my mind, my health, my spirit, my energy? And I have proof of how that actually impacts our communities and our families in a positive way. It naturally happens, Dan. And so I started doing that. And then everybody in my family, always visiting my mom's house. I'm living at my mom's house, coming by, and they're seeing me juice, and they're seeing me run, and they're seeing me exercise and food prep and all these different things, and talk to the children about smoothies and books, and just be super like present and loving and caring and joyful. And they see me like, oh, I'm going to go to my room because I want to learn about this thing, or, I'm going to go read this book, or I'm going to go see this one person about learning about yoga, all these different things, right? So next thing you know, I start having family members come to the house more intentionally and say, honey, can you teach me how I can better teach my children about nutrition? Because we just got word from the doctor that our 7-year-old is pre-diabetic. Oh, wow. Yes, absolutely. I would love to help you with that. Another uncle comes by, honey, do you know what I can do? Because I just got diagnosis that I have cancer. Yes, of course. Yes, we can definitely do something about that. And I'm grateful that you're looking for different ways. You're not just going through and taking in what the doctors are telling you. Looking for ways to help yourself. That's so beautiful. And, so COVID happens, right? And then I have family members hitting me up, Dan, and they're like, honey, what do you know about this? What do you believe around all this? And what do you think we can do to help protect ourselves? I was like, those are great questions. Thank you for coming to me and asking me. I hope that y'all always know that I'm here for you. So I see how, being the example of what we believe, doing the right thing is, or being the best that we can be, really impacts the people around us without us even saying anything, just inviting them into our world without pushing or shoving. And that's what I'm doing. And that's how meditation has helped me through all of that.
Thanks for sharing that and for being vulnerable there. It's so powerful. And many people would relate to the struggle of communication with others. And many of us, certainly the last few years during COVID, particularly those of us who have taken a different view on the state of reality that we're being portrayed in the media and through the political regime, and then to try and communicate those differences with others often brings us face to face with our differences, and we get shut down, and that issue of judgment comes up again, and we feel judged and we feel unheard, and it just feels very, very challenging to get through to people. But what you shared beautifully is actually when we go back within ourselves and we work on ourselves, then we can actually become the kind of role model to the point where people actually come to us for information. We don't have to force it on other people. They actually see you as someone who's a beacon. And that doesn't happen by accident. That happens with real deliberate intention. And it's a wonderful example that you shared there. But I am curious to return to a previous point that connects to this, which is how meditation can actually help us connect with others. It stemmed from my thinking about your relationship with your sister, but how do you feel that meditation or mindfulness can actually help us deepen our connection, not only to ourselves, but to other people?
Well, for one, meditation is one of those tools that breaks the barrier of religion and all different spiritual practices and beliefs and backgrounds. So I think I've seen how meditation can be one of those things that we can do together, no matter what our background is, no matter where we come from, no matter what our beliefs are. And that alone breaks barriers and helps us connect on a deeper level, on a spiritual level and on a heart level. And And that alone is big, Dan, because, you know, a lot of the challenges in the world are dividing us through our belief systems and through our religions and everything, right? So pinning us against each other because of where we come from or what we believe. So that I've seen be one of the biggest things about it. And as meditation, as we continue to practice our meditation, we do become more mindful of and gaining other tools too. Like I started reading the book, The Four Agreements, that little nugget of wisdom. Paired up with my meditation, I started becoming just even more aware of others, how we're all living in our own world and we're all more worried about ourselves in our own world. And we're all feeling insecure in different ways, or judging ourselves in different ways, or feeling doubtful in different ways, or have our own fears, and that's all in our internal world. So whenever we become aware of that and we're able to listen and we're able to really hear somebody out and be there and show up for them, meditation can help us step back and recognize they're in their world. You know, they are having their own beautiful valid experience, and I can show up for them. How can I best show up for them? And sometimes we recognize through meditation that it's not about changing or doing or, you know, impacting or becoming or anything. It's simply about observing, simply about taking a breather, being present, and observing our thoughts, observing our sensations in our body, how we're feeling, observing our energy, and observing the outside world as well. And so then that helps whenever we're in conversation and communication with another person, with another being that we really care about, or that we are just talking in the middle, in the side of the street, whatever, and that we just met. Like, observe, be there, you know, and take it in. Don't try to change or judge. Don't try to push or shove. Simply let that expression be. Okay. All right. I see you. I hear you. I honor you. And I respect you. And sometimes, most of the time, as human beings, that's all we need, is to be seen, heard, understood. And that's it. And we're all in our own personal spiritual journeys. And I trust, and this is something that meditation has taught me, that I trust that if God, Spirit, the divine, has led me here to experience this inner journey within myself, I trust that in such divine ways and with such divine timing too, I trust that the divine spirit God creator is doing that within each and every one of us. And it's not my job to try to push, shove, or help people wake up or anything like that. It's happening naturally, you know? And I ask, those tools that meditation has taught us is, how can I simply hold space for that with that person to experience themselves and be a reflection back to them of their most high, and just like that, you know, we can help each other grow and blossom.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Now, I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate, if I may, because I love what you're saying, and I've had some very deep personal experiences in the kind of vein that you've outlined, and I've had these moments of profound, almost through meditation, sense of oneness and real interconnectedness of all beings and all things. And it's during those moments you feel a real sense of, and that's, you know, without any substance, that's, well, you could argue the brain is creating the substances for that, or who knows, or it's something, you know, beyond. But however it happens, I've had that sense of interconnectivity with all beings. And then you come out of that state, and then you get back, you go back to your day-to-day work. And if you happen to be doing the type of work that I do, and you have to check in on Twitter or X a few times a day to understand the state of reality, you suddenly lose that, or you can lose that sense of connectedness. And sometimes I think, do I need to meditate every half an hour of the day just to keep an hour? But I'm sure other people relate to that, because the world is, like you say, the machine is built right now, particularly the media machine, to divide us. It proliferates the divide, which then causes us to go into judgment. And actually, I wrote a post this week just speaking about actually some of the neurological wiring that creates addiction to negative news and actually addiction to the patterns of division and arguing. So to break all of that and stay consistent, what I'm curious about from your experience over the last decade or so is how do you make that an enduring sense? Do you have things that kind of bring you back to that? So you don't have to meditate every half an hour of the day. But how do you kind of create a consistent sense of mindfulness so that, those things outside, I'm sure, you're human as well. So you probably have the moments, hopefully, that you can help me understand, like, how do you come back to that sense of centeredness?
Yeah, that's, if not the biggest challenge that we're facing. One of the biggest challenges that we're facing right now, especially being so interconnected with anything and all voices on the internet, all opinions, all heightened emotions, and everybody wanting to express themselves all at one time from the full spectrum of belief systems and thoughts and patterns. It is tough, not gonna lie. I find myself frustrated. I find myself angry, and no, for me, it just does not work to be meditating 24/7, Dan. It's not doable. It just isn't. But what I do find helps me is because I have taken the time to meditate consistently throughout my years. There was whenever I first started, I think I meditated each and every day for like 30 minutes, an hour, for like a whole year. And then there were months like sprinkled in between. After that, there was a series of months or like a month or two or things like that where I would sit down and meditate consistently, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever I had, but I kept that consistency going. And I honestly believe that a lot of the tools that we gain from meditation is because of our consistency. It does not mean that we have to meditate each and every day. It doesn't mean that. But what it did mean for me is that I have to make the time at some point or another to meditate consistently so that I do have the tools in my tool belt so that whenever I am dealing with the frustration, I am dealing with the anger, I am dealing with the chaos, that I have those tools to pull from, because I did do the work, put in the work at some point to gain those tools. So whenever I find myself and Derek's like, oh, honey, have you read this? Have you heard about this? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course this is happening, but like, what the, And I have, afterwards, I have work to get to. I have talks. I have calls with my family. I have things to get to that being in that state of mind does not fucking help. Sorry, Dan. Does not help, and honestly, it's good for us to be aware of the things that are happening in the world. It's necessary for us to be aware of the things that are happening in the world, the truth that's going on, right? The chaos, the destruction, what the parasite class is doing.
Well, people talk about blissful ignorance, right? So it's actually staying attached. How do we become blissfully aware? Blissfully aware.
I honestly don't think. Okay, look, I'm under blissful ignorance, and it does not help because the anger, the anxiety, the stress, all of that is still creeping. All we do in blissful ignorance is try to compress it, like press it down. And what it does is like when we do that, what happens? The pressure builds up, and it's gonna crack at some point. We're gonna explode. I've gone through it. It doesn't work. Take my advice. What does work is knowing about all of it and feeling our feelings, because we are human. We are going to feel the different feelings, the full spectrum of feelings, and they're valid. They're there for a reason. They are the messengers of what this information means to me. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, Dan?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
And the clearest example that I have of it all is with what's happening right now with the war and with
which one? I mean, I mean, it's like
I know.
yeah, it's a time where I think the media will talk about whichever war is most important to them at the time, but quite frankly, there is multiple wars happening right now that don't even get spoken about. And I as a parent, I look at my son every day, and I'm so grateful to live to live where I live, knowing that we're not in. But I was at the playground with him yesterday, thinking, some parts of the world, that child will disappear early because of this, where they were born and what their adults are doing in their terrain, their territory, and it breaks me up. I mean, I've just been having calls the last couple of weeks saying, what can I do as an individual to contribute to global peace? And funny enough, the answer comes back to first to deal with the conflict and start just I'll find peace for it, which kind of played out what we're just talking. But
Exactly.
But I've lost how we got onto this track now. But to me, it is about that sense of peace. Like, we have to find that inner peace.
Yeah. And it's possible. It's possible to find that inner peace, Dan, through all the chaos. It's possible to go on the web and figure out what the fuck is going on in the world today and all the chaos that's going on, and go internally and say, wow, this is fucking angering me. This is making me, it's fucking mad out there, And what a fucking blessing it is that I had the luck, I don't know, the luck to be born where I was born, to the family that I was born to, with the belief systems that I was born in, with at the time that I was born, and all of these different things that, some people say, like, well, when we were born, our soul chose what we were going to be and what we were going to do and all this stuff. Okay, I understand that. But there's people suffering because of these things that I sincerely don't know if I chose this or not, or if they chose that life. That's not okay still. It's not okay that it's happening. And it's angering whenever you find out why it's happening and what the agenda is behind it, and that the agenda wants the bloodshed and all the manipulation that they're playing out through the whole storyline, and how they're manipulating people right now here today in the Western, in the US and Europe and all those places. It's, when you look into it, whenever I've looked into it, Dan, same for me. Whenever I recognize how it makes me feel, which is anger, pain, sadness, anguish, frustration, all of those different things, I feel it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to scream. I'm going to cry. I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to do whatever the heck I need to do to feel, and to feel like I've fully felt what I need to feel. And once done with that, I recognize, like, okay, if I allow myself to continue angry and frustrated, where is that going to lead? Well, we've seen it. We see what that leads to. We've had so many beautiful human beings that wake up to the truths of the world, and what do? They, in their anguish to try to wake up the world, they put themselves up in flames.
They create more of the same.
They create more of the same. Yeah. Perpetuate the same chaos. Or I can allow myself to understand what the solution is here, what power I actually have to impact the world. And it's through my internal well-being and my state of mind, my state of being. Okay, well, whenever I know how to deal with anger and pain and frustration and uncertainty and chaos and challenges in a proper way, in a way that actually helps me grow and helps the people that I love continue forward in a good way, and helps the community that I love continue forward in a good way, then that's what I'm going to do. And that usually leads to work on myself, build the love I have for myself, and build the love that I have for the world around me. And all that anger turns into passion. All that sadness turns into joy within me, and gratefulness, and being like, okay, I have this right here, right now, this life right here, right now, that is a precious gift to me. And that is the biggest gift to me. What can I do with this life to make sure that I impact in the most positive and powerful way that I possibly can. Because otherwise, I'm going to go down that road of anger and chaos and perpetuate the shit that they're perpetuating. And I don't want any part of that. I don't want to be any part of that. And I want to be a part of the group that frees humanity and grows out of it for once and for all.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is we're surrounded by it, particularly with digital technology. Now, there was a time, people would have to wait for the newspaper to arrive on the drive. But now it's like, you wake up, you pick up your phone, and it's already, without even asking for it, it's already sending you notifications. Twitter, bang at that, 57 Twitter notifications just here. It's like, every one of them, I can guarantee if I was to bring them up, we went through them one by one, let's see if we get anything in. So that any of these notifications make us feel better about our lives. No.
Yeah.
So I found myself on an individual level just in a cycle of beginning my day in that state, because that's what will happen. It's very difficult to actually just look at words, because that's what it is. It's a word on a page, actually. It's just words. It's like not very many words. It's less than 240 characters. Or words. I've lost track of Twitter, right? So I have no idea anymore. But a short number of words, and then your brain takes those words and goes, anger. And that's how I'm starting my day. It's like, well, hang on a minute. And this became my habit for like a number of years during this last chapter. And it was only a couple of weeks ago, I was like, why am I starting my day with that intensity of emotion? It's always available. I can tap into it anytime I want. Like, we know that it's on demand, but why am I beginning my day in that way? Like, how is that serving me or anyone? And I would go into the day with this intensity, this tension in my body. I'm like, this is not healthy. This is not healthy. So I've had to really come back to myself and get back in control of my own habits. And it's now, I'm actually getting to the point where I don't even want to pay attention. I know I have to for the work that I do, but I'm trying to be a lot more deliberate now in my consumption of information, and to limit it. And actually, I remember reading about Ram Dass and how he used to approach reading the news, and he said he would consciously meditate for 15 to 30 minutes before picking up the newspaper. I mean, I don't know how if his techniques worked in the face of Twitter and social media, but he would do that to the point where he can literally just see them as that, words on the page. So he remains informed, but he doesn't become emotionally connected or associated with the story that he's reading. It's just a story. It's a reporting. And he can take that information and process it as he will. And I'm like, man, this guy's a master. No wonder why Ram Dass is like one of the heroes of the spiritual development. To have that ability. I strive for that. But I think that's why, I think for having this conversation today, I think many of us, we're all drowning in this negativity. Mm-hmm. But if we do want to be the ones that shift the dial, then we have to find a way to not only feel into that so we don't suppress it, but actually snap it and transmute it in the way that you described into something more beautiful. And that's the challenge. So, how do you personally do that? So let's say something's triggered you. Like, how do you go from that moment of trigger to recognize it first and foremost, and then to transmute it into something that drives you?
Well, I think one thing that you mentioned that is really, really important is the mindset that you start your day off with. That is huge, right? That's going to set the dial for the rest of the day. And even whenever you're faced with like the chaos and everything and the social media and the news and all that, you have now more of a baseline to come back to, instead of just letting that be the beginning of your day and that being your baseline that you're starting off with, right? Well, like I was saying, the different tools that meditation offers us, like the breathing techniques, the observation, the spending, the patience, the non-judgment and all that stuff. Whenever these things happen, and one thing that helps me is to just breathe. Okay, I know that that's happening. Okay, I know that that's what they're saying. Okay, for one, we know that the negative news is going to continue. We know it's going to continue. No matter what, we can set our phones down for 1 year, pick it back up. It's going to be there waiting for you. It's going to be there whenever you want it, whenever you need it. It's always going to be there. So, and we also recognize too that a lot of it is intentional. It's like intentional. It's like, we know that social media is set up in a way to grab our attention and to keep us there and engage us, right? And what better way than through our emotions, through seeing the most emotionally tough things, you know, and they're happening. So it's important to see that, but it's also important to recognize that like it is very intentional. So I have to be as strong and as intentional with my thoughts and my emotions and what I'm going to put my energy and focus on, right, Dan? Like, okay, so I've seen this. I know what's going on now. Okay, what does that mean for me? And the other tool that helps me besides breath and breathing to kind of calm my nervous system back down and come back to relaxation, not to relaxation, but to like a stillness, to be able to like then go into my prayer. So prayer for me is another one, Dan. Prayer for me is my go-to throughout the whole day. If for these types of things too, but whenever something happens, whenever I'm on a call with my family, or whenever I'm reading something, or Derek brings up different news that are going on in the world, or different things like that, or I watch a documentary and I'm like, oh shit, we're going to shit, you know, like I definitely don't want to believe that, but that is where we're going if I'm not capable of taking that, which I learned, and doing something beautiful with it. So then I go into prayer, do my breathing, I go into prayer, and I ask, what is this meant for me? Like, what am I meant to do with this information that I have now available to me? And go from there. And so prayer is a big one for me, Dan. I do definitely find myself praying throughout the day a lot. And sometimes more than others, sometimes a walk is what I need. And that can be meditation in itself, movement meditation. Stretching, sometimes shaking. Have you ever shook, Dan? It's like
absolutely. Sometimes if I try and be still and go into meditation, I'm still feeling the intensity. Movement is the way I release it. You know, that personally is been so beneficial to me.
Yeah, I think all these different tools play a big part when they're needed. Like sometimes we only have the tool of our breathing techniques, right? But maybe we have a breathing technique that helps us kind of be still and be chill, but maybe we need a breathing technique that moves energy through our bodies, that helps us take all of that energy that we just produced and move it and shake it out of our bodies, and then that's clear our body of that energy, and then we're able to center ourselves into what's next for us, right? So there's a lot of different tools. Some people... I will go on a jog. I will go on a jog sometimes. I will run. I will, Derek and I will just start doing ab exercises or push-ups. I will journal. It's another little tool for me. And honestly, I think it's a very powerful one. I think it helps us understand our thoughts and ourselves even better. And there's so much magic that happens pen to paper. Yes, definitely journaling and sharing your thoughts and typing it out to yourself on the computer, on the phone helps a lot. Just getting those thoughts out, you know, and expressing ourselves in some way, shape, or form. So journaling helps a lot. Definitely. While we're journaling, Dan, I highly recommend later on going back through our journals to see what we've been through and what has helped us through, what tools have come up for us that have really helped us through different things, because then that helps us integrate and those tools on a deeper level. We can more easily pull those tools up from our tool belt whenever we actually need them in those moments.
Yeah, and it can show your stuck patterns as well. I mean, I've been journaling actively since 2013, and sometimes I look back and go, I'm writing about this again. Pattern, stuck back mode of thinking, stuck habits. Like, well, okay, well, there's work to do. Yes. My question for you then is, will we get the chance to experience some of these tools with you at the People's Reset this year when you come to Bath?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I've gotten the honor to guide us in meditation. It's going to be, we're going to do an opening ceremony with Yoshi and Paula, myself and Derek, and it's going to be a prayer. You know, Dan, I think it's really important, and this is just my beliefs, but I think it's really important that we do connect with whatever our higher power is, whatever we believe that is for ourselves. Is really important for us to connect with that, and to ensure that connection in our hearts and our bodies and our minds, and to set the intentions with that connection when we move forward, when we're about to move forward in some big way, especially with like an event like the People's Reset. You know, it's a very sacred space, the way that I see it. It's a very sacred space. It's this conference, this event offers solutions, and it offers the practical solutions that we're all looking for, but it also impacts our heart and impacts our mind, and it helps us like grow and expand. And so it's a very sacred space. And so we do that prayer. And so we do that that opening ceremony. And then I have the honor to guide us into meditation. And I would love to be able to tell you like, oh, the meditation is going to be about this, and I'm going to guide us through this and all of that, right? But Dan, it is also to my personal spiritual journey, and this is all a part of it for me. And so whenever I go up on stage, I'm going up on stage already in prayer, already in my own thoughts and my own intentions, but I'm practically trust falling, if that makes any sense. And I'm learning to trust right now, to recognize that I am safe, that I am exactly where I need to be in the most perfect time that I need to be there, and that I can show up fully, and that I have everything that I need to be able to show up in the best way possible to serve God's spirit, creator, the divine, in the best way possible, and to serve the highest potential within each and every one of us that are present there as possible. So it's a trust fall for me. So I cannot tell you what exactly the meditation is going to be, but always my meditations definitely include the basics to meditation, because meditation doesn't have to be challenging. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's very simple. It's very simple, and it's a practice that we can easily practice whenever we're waiting for an appointment or something, sitting there and breathing. It's something very simple, and it's something that we can practice before going on a talk, before calling our family members, before, very simple. So I always like to ensure that I include the guidance for meditation, the basics of meditation through every meditation. And then from there, we will drop in the ways that Spirit, God, Creator within each and every one of us feels that we need to drop in. I know that sounds cuckoo, Dan, but I trust that we will all receive what we are meant to receive for our highest and greatest good when the time comes. And maybe we'll do a flash mob meditation while we are there. That would be incredible. Actually, you just brought that idea up for me, and I think that we're going to do it.
Well, yeah, the flash was just something we actually don't have time to talk about, so we can save that as a special bonus experiential moment, hopefully, in Bath. I'd love to see that, either on the program or spontaneously just occurring.
Sorry,
before we wrap up, I just want to talk a little bit more about you've been so intrinsically connected to the Greater Reset, now the People's Reset. You're heavily involved, working to make this come alive, helping to foster it into being. Really exciting that we get to bring it to the UK. I kind of want to just help people understand what to expect, because we've been through lots of different conferences and events over the last few years, and a lot of them have really spent the time kind of going, what the heck just happened? You're trying to make sense of COVID, trying to make sense of the vaxes, the adverse events, all those different things. I'm always now like, can I say these words out loud without getting censored? People have gone to all these talks and they're hearing all these things, and again, it's all the negative news, and it's now like I feel like I know it on repeat and could just repeat it on demand. So I want people to understand that the People's Reset is not that. Firstly, it's not going to be more talks about COVID or more talks about vaccine injuries or more talks about who's behind all these different things. And often when I hear people talking about solutions, they almost go to like the most inhumane solution, which is we want it's almost like medieval, like off with their heads. And I can understand the kind of energy behind that and the sentiment behind it. They want justice, really, and accountability for what's happened. But we're not talking about that as a solution. We're not talking about legal cases or prosecution or any of those things. We're actually talking about tangible, material solutions. But what's fascinating for me as someone who's experienced this event firsthand is it goes full circle to what you've been talking about. It really connects the dots between the systems that we engage with, the unoppressed, the oppressive and unhealthy systems, but connects it right back to us and what we can do. I mean, I've still got I wrote like 100-point to-do list I mean, that might sound like, that's just how I operate. No, I go for it.
I see that.
I had ideas for my business. I had ideas for my health. I had ideas for even to my home, like going to the sacred geometry thing. I was like, when I go home, I need to go and have a look at how things are configured. Like, it's like, it was full of inspiration, like it's inspired. And normally I'm like, when I look at my daily to-do list, I'm like, man, how am I ever going to get those things done? With this to-do list, I still look at it and get excited. It doesn't feel like, oh God, that's got to happen by today. Like work type stuff that we do. Yeah. This is like a checklist of things that I can do to materially improve the quality of my life just from one event, and half of which I missed because I was sick.
Yeah.
So in your words, like tell people what they can expect from this wonderful event that we're co-creating together.
Isn't it beautifully impactful, Dan? It's incredible, and I know. So for this event specifically, and for our network specifically, we like to work in the mindset of assume that everybody already knows the problems and focus on the solutions. What are the solutions? And so that's what the event is specifically about. We have the 5 different themes that are going to be playing a role through the 3 days. And the themes are going to set the stage for the different speakers to talk on those themes, but always focus on solutions. What are the practical steps that we can take right here, right now? We don't have to wait 5 years down the line or anything. What are the practical steps that we can take to free ourselves, to build a better world, to secure our family's future, and all these different things, right? So maybe I can tell you guys the different themes, but it's definitely going to check out the trailer. We go through the themes on there as well. But the first theme is mind, body, and spirit. Liberate your mind, body, and spirit, or soul. Liberate your mind, body, and soul. So definitely starting with the internal self, like the self, the individual, and what we can do in terms of like our health, our well-being, our spirituality, healing, definitely healing work, and all of that. Healing so that we don't perpetuate the same cycles like we were talking about, right? That's definitely at the root of the solutions. And then we have permaculture and food independence, and then we have parallel systems, which is I forgot the word. Dan, go for it.
Parallel systems and
Agorism. Agorism and parallel systems.
Economics, it all kind of wraps into that. Alternative systems, it's all the things that, I think that for the UK audience as well, it's an opportunity to connect with some of the things like alternative education that's actually happening here in the UK. So if you're traveling from overseas, you can see how things are happening here in the UK. I think that theme is really interesting to get people to actually see firsthand what parallel systems and networks can look like.
Beautiful. That's really important, right? And then we have liberating technology, talking about how we can step out of big tech with starting from like our cell phones, our laptops, all the technology that we're using, as well as the different software that we're using, different ways that we can continue to communicate, and also technologies around health as well. And then we have the last theme of the day or of the conference, which is going to be building free and conscious communities. And that was a big part of it, because I think one of the biggest beauties or blessings of this event is that it brings people together of the same thoughts, of the same minds, of like people that understand what's going on in the world and are ready to take action to build something better, right? And so that's really important, because it's not about me, it's not about Derek, it's not about us who are coming, though we are really happy and excited to be there and meet all of you. But it's more about the community and the connections that are being made and established while we are there, so that whenever we leave, that can grow into what it's meant to grow into, right? With now people that have the tools and the mindset ready and are ready to go and just pick up from there and build. So the community day is a really big part. We also have 3 different main evening events that are going to be happening. And on the first night, we're going to have the community networking event. And that is going to be really integral for the Bath UK community that's going to be there, to be able to share what projects you're working on, to be able to share what communities you're building, to be able to share what networks you are building, and invite everybody to join you and find the people that you maybe are looking for a certain project. It's really about that network, that community and the connections that are being made that night is about. And then it's important to start with that in the first night, because then we have the rest of the conference for those people to continue to connect and continue to build that connection, right? And then on the second night, I believe we have the concert. That's going to be so much fun. We have some different artists that are going to be coming from the U.S., like 33, which is Derek Bros, one of the organizers of the event, as well as Presence, who's going to be coming as well. And then we have, what is her name? She's the vegan artist. She creates such beautiful music. Vegan Queen. Her music is so beautiful. And then we have Dub Effects that's going to be coming from the UK, which I'm so excited for, Dan. It's going to be an amazing freedom celebration party, which I think it's part of all of this, right? Like, we have to continue to celebrate life, and we have to continue to celebrate each other, and music is a big part of it, and dancing is a big part of it, and I think that's gonna be beautiful. Don't want to miss that. And then on the last night, we are going to have we're gonna have the singing circle, the sacred singing circle, and a cacao ceremony, and that is very beautiful to help bring the community together in such a beautiful, intimate way, and singing together and singing songs of freedom, singing songs of the heart, singing songs of, elevation and growth. And it's really, really beautiful. I wasn't able to attend the last one at our event in Mexico, but I heard stories that made me cry, Dan, of how beautifully. I even heard a story that the men got to sing an Opono song to the women, and that is just beautiful. What does that mean for humanity? The men offering the women, an apology and saying, we're here for you, we love you, we see you, we respect you, we honor you. That's incredible. So there is a lot of that aspect, the healing aspect that's going on and playing a role, the spiritual aspect playing a role underneath everything, right? But it's always about solutions. How can we continue to build together and grow?
Yeah, on that last point, I think that, the British kind of more reserved type will say, I'm not singing.
That's why you don't have to sing.
Yeah, me until the last thing. But what I'm saying, I only got to microdose on that particular experience, because I was supporting Sam, who I travelled with. He was running and navigating the financial reset workshop out on the field. But I really wanted to sample this music temple event. And everyone had been telling me about it. They've been to these other events. You've got to go tonight. I said, I can't. I've got to support Sam. I've travelled together. Like, we do loads of work. So every sort of half an hour or so, I'd check on the cameras, make sure they were recording, and then I would go and just tap into what was happening in the room. Every time I walked in, something amazing was happening. For you, it's like a jam session. It's like a community jam session. The guitars are playing, people are singing. It's just so powerful. The energy is incredible.
So even if you're not going to sing, you still want to make it.
You get to witness it. It's just amazing, the energy, and it's like a real way to encapsulate the kind of essence of the energy that unfolded during those 5 days in this instance in Mexico. We're starting with 3 in the United Kingdom.
By the way, Dan, thank you for inviting us to come to the UK. This is really a blessing. Like, this is what we envisioned the People's Reset to be, is to continue to grow all around the world, and to continue to have the different events that help activate the communities there to get into action or connect with each other,
It was a must. Like, I mean, having attended the event, and like I said, having been to lots of different conferences in the UK, it was like, this is a massive gap. We're not doing any of this. It's happening. Like, everything we're talking about is happening in the community. So, but it's also disconnected, and there's no place where people can go and learn not only about what's happening, but actually how to it. I'm serious. I just found my to-do list from but there's all kinds of stuff. Maximize natural light in the home environment. Add affirmations to the home space. Consider writing a book.
Yes.
Just think about it.
Yes. And it's all to empower us. It's all to help us grow in the directions that we want to.
Yes. So, I mean, there's just so much, and there's so much there for people to explore. I consider it's like you can tap into all these different things, and you don't have to take it all away. You can find the things that are unique to you and the things that you want to explore and the communities that you can connect with back at home.
Coming back to that point that you were talking about SANE being there, we also have the workshops. The workshops is a big aspect of the People's Reset and the experience of being there in person. It's actually where we open it up to those who are coming in person to offer their skills and their knowledge. Where, there are a lot of our speakers are going to be offering workshops to get more hands-on practical skills, learning all of that stuff. But also too, we're opening it up to the community itself to say like, hey, I have this tool that I know would really help my community. Let's get you set up so that you can share that with the community, right? And that is huge, that we want this to be interactive. We want you to be a big part of it because you really are. This can't happen without you, And so we also have the Telegram group where we invite everybody to join so that you yourselves, as you're joining the Telegram group, as you're coming to the event, you can connect with other people. Maybe you can ride share, maybe you share accommodations, maybe you decide like, hey, this is a really important topic for me, and I see that it's a really important topic for you too. Let's create a little gathering at this small cafe over here, and then people can join you over there. It's about everybody getting activated. Taking the action that they're being called to take and becoming the people, taking on the roles and the responsibilities that's necessary to do what needs to be taken care of to usher all of us into what we're building together.
Amazing. Miriam, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to spend this time with you today and to learn more about you and the work that you've been doing and the contribution you're making to this event and this community. So thank you so much for sharing throughout today. And yes, we'll see the trailer again in a moment, the Greater Reset, so you can actually get a visual on what it is like. If you'd like to join us in person, go to thegreaterreset.org. You can read up more about everything we just talked about, from the speaker sessions, the workshops, the evening events. You can find out all the details there. You can really get a sense of what's going on. So grab your tickets and come and join us. And the other links that Miriam's talked about, including the Telegram groups, you'll see those in the description. Wherever you're watching or listening this, you'll see those as well. So I'm so excited to see you again in person. We're really looking forward to welcoming you to the UK and putting on this event together. So it's our hope that we'll see you at the event. So do check it out. You will be able to watch it if you're in different parts of the world and can't make it. You can also watch it live online. We'll be sharing the details about that nearer the time. So on that note, Miriam, I want to say thank you again. My gratitude to you, and look forward to seeing you in person.
Thank you, Dan. It's such an honor to team up in this way. See you soon.
Thank you.
This is a solutions event. This is what's happening.
After 5 successful events in North America, the Freedom Cell Network is partnering with Free Humanity to bring the People's Reset to Bath, UK.
The technocrats at the United Nations and the World Economic Forum are now hosting the Summit of the Future in New York City in September 2024.
Join us in September for the People's Reset UK, our summit for our future.
Over 3 days, we will gather in community, celebrating our victories and successes, whilst continuing to highlight solutions under 5 holistic themes.
Liberate your mind, body, and spirit.
Permaculture and food independence.
Building parallel networks.
Empowering technology.
And building free and conscious communities. 24 top-notch speakers, including Neil Oliver, Charles Dowding, Dan Astin-Gregory, Nigel Howlett, John and Rebecca Bush, and many more.
We'll also be hosting the People's Reset concert featuring international artist Dub FX, as well as Presence, 33, and more talented performers to come. Join us for the People's Reset UK. Visit thegreaterreset.org to learn more and to get your ticket today.